Okay, good morning, everybody. We have reached the final day of the conference, and I'll first introduce myself. My name is David Haid. I'm a professor of philosophy emeritus at the Hebrew University, and I was on the steering committee of this conference. It has been quite a project for about a year and a half, and I want to tell you, as a member of the steering committee, that we owe again deep gratitude and thanks to Dr. Yael Ben Chaim, who was really the living spirit behind the scenes, because 10 brilliant professors have wonderful ideas and stimulating each other and getting enthusiastic, but usually nothing comes out of it without somebody managing these professors. And that was exactly the function which Dr. Ibn Chaim performed so well and efficiently. And we know that as the steering committee, and you everybody, one of you knows from the personal care and concern that Yael took of your practical interests in coming over here. So thank you very much, Yael. So now we reach I think, not only the final day, but at last, the title of the subject of our conference. Because yesterday and the day before yesterday, in a way, were just opening remarks and background remarks for the purpose of the conference, which has 2050 in its title. And we hardly spoke about 2050. We did a lot of discussion about, especially in the first day, about the past, the history of medical ethics from World War II to our days, which was very, very instrumental in understanding where we stand today. And indeed, Professor Brandt told us, especially yesterday, what we miss in our traditional bioethical framework for research and the holes, if you like, that we need to fill. So questions of privacy were raised, and the questions, particularly yesterday, of justice, that of all the 4 principles of bioethical research were not taken care of sufficiently. So these are very important issues, including the corona, the COVID-19 virus, and the way we confronted it, but that's part of the present. So I hope that now, in this particular session, we are going to move into the future. And the future will be a completely different, also in terms of the bioethical concerns or values or dilemmas which we are going to face. They're not going to be only questions of justice and privacy, which we face already today, but there are going to be questions which I would call relate to identity, the very identity of both human individuals and human beings as a species. So this is a kind of concern which we in bioethics have never faced before, and no one really tried to articulate any regulatory or let alone frameworks, even general frameworks for their regulation, because both genetics and AI is going, which we are going to discuss later today, are going to deal not only with questions of safety, individual autonomy, other constraints, ethical constraints on research we have known, but ask about the very goals of what we are doing in biomedical research. And of course, as we all know, many of these practices are not going to have anything to do with medicine in the original sense of curing people or achieving better health, because we are going not to cure individual people with some genetic default, but we are going to create other children in their stead. So that creates a philosophical, deep philosophical question, which has to do with the value of how we look at the future of humanity in general. So that sounds very abstract and very philosophical, but it has to do with the practical outcomes of much of our future biomedical research, especially if we think about 2050. So I think in 7 years' time, we are going to be at a very advanced stage in those practices. So here I believe we need a completely different framework, systems of value and social choices, which would give us some kind of orientation of how to go about it, and none of the old medical ethical principle would be in our assistance in that project. So this is a real new ethical and philosophical challenge for society at large.